minutes late.
You want us to wait for him, or just let him join in progress, or? I see what you're wrong. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. It's Monday, the 11th of May at 4:00 p.m. We're going to consider allowing remote participation. I think Chaplain is the only one that's remote, and Fred is on his way here. So, motion to allow remote participation.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the motion passes. The adoption of the agenda. It's a fairly simple one today. Motion to approve the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
All those for? All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, today we're going to basically discuss and consider the process for filling the village manager vacancy. Christina Amos has worked here for many, many years, and she is moving on in probably the next 3 weeks, and we have to fill her shoes. And she's been very helpful in providing information for us from a backfill standpoint with some necessary resources. That'll be a topic of conversation today, not just from the backfill piece, but median salaries and some other information that will be helpful for us in our search. So I wanted to have this meeting so we could open it up to everyone to have a discussion with, obviously Chaplain's, leadership, and as well as Christina's, on the best way to go about this and to work very efficiently over the next several weeks as we seek to fill this position. So, Chaplain, any comment you want to make towards some of the things you've been thinking about in, filling this position?
Yes. One is a legal point that I do want to make under the state statutes 168-150. It basically says when the city manager is vacant, that the council shall designate a person to take the position or have an interim until it's filled completely. So this not only is the proper thing to do to keep things moving, but it's also required under state law. And then if you look at all of the duties, and we've gone over these before, the manager, but the manager's in control of providing the budget, the staff, administration, kind of keeping the ship going. So we've got to make sure that we have a process in place to do that. I have been involved in this in the past, and I had, with one of my towns, it seemed to happen a lot. They did it temporarily with a staff member. It was a larger town that named a staff member, and that person held that additional role. And then I think on 2 occasions, they had an outside interim coordinated with and through the league. And oftentimes they get retired managers that will come in and do this on an interim basis. So it's an important step, and I'm glad that this council is responding to their duty and doing this quickly and staying ahead of it. So I think that's a good thing to do. And then I will go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Christina.
Well, I was just going to segue into that because that was a good transition. You've got 3 options at this point. One is to do an in-house appointment, do an outside appointment for an interim, and or to do an expedient advertising process or a combination thereof all. So the main thing is you just need to figure out if you want to do an interim from an inside standpoint or an outside standpoint. And I've given you some options in that little packet that I put together of options for outside appointments. There's what the North Carolina City and County Managers Association calls a Managers in Transition report, which is the very small written report that's probably the last or second to the last page inside that packet. We can reach out to those managers in transition to see if they are interested in an appointment. I will tell you, I have spoken to both the league and Rob Shepard and just asked kind of generically what they generally go for. And just so you guys are aware, they said generally speaking, it's the manager's salary plus 30%, and then potentially hotel and mileage stays as well. So just mentally be prepared for that if,
All right. The third option is going to, is basically hiring from the outside and using using a search firm.
yes.
You mentioned Central Lina. Are there any other, like the North Carolina School of Government, or are there any, have you guys ever had to source using an outside agency that just basically recruits people?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ones that do manager recruitments. They can be very costly, I'll tell you, anywhere from, I'd say, $40,000 to $60,000 just for the recruitment process. We can always ask and see, I guess it depends on the scope, but they are a costly recruitment.
Okay.
The package that I put together from COG is real simple, and it's just basically they prepare the job description, the salary range, and then they prepare the advertisement, and that's pretty much it. They don't help with any of the assessment, and that service that they offer is free. Now, they do offer assessment processes that will cost, a little bit. We've done this before with a department level position, and it was, I don't know, $5,000 if that. It would probably be more with a manager position, but that is a service that they provide. There's other groups called Raftelis. I can come up with a couple of different ones. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but those are the ones that are the costlier ones. They generally do a national search.
Okay.
And I think we have two issues here. We have the interim and then the full-time.
That's right.
Unless we think we can land full-time within 30, well, not even 30 days. And I think that's unlikely because a lot of your candidates are going to have to provide some type of notice. And it's just hard to get a search, coordinate times for them to fly or come from out of town. You meet with them and then complete that. So most of the municipalities I've dealt with have done the interim. And if the league still has that coordination, that's a pretty good way to facilitate it.
Christina, the three names you have circled,
Yes, that's the
interim.
league.
right.
That's from the league.
Are you familiar with any of them?
I'm only familiar with Mike McLaren, and I called him directly, and he is not interested. He was the former manager in Indian Trail. I did call Chris, the very top one. He's just taken a role as an engineer somewhere, so he's not interested just because he's taken another job. And I spoke to Erskine on Friday, and I don't remember the reasoning. I think he said he may be appointed somewhere, but, or maybe he's just interested in Iredell County, which is the one that's above that on the David individual. And I have left a message for the two that I've circled, but they haven't called me back yet.
So
That-
during the course of time, how does training take a role here? Obviously, if there's an interim manager, let's say Ben or David, come in, you would be able to bring them up to speed. But then at some point, then, the end of the month's going to be the end of the month. What is the interim manager then train, or is it mostly the staff that trains? Who does
Trains the
training?
interim?
Yeah.
So I would all the open projects that I've got right now, I would just have to prepare some very detailed narratives, checklist, to let the person just pick it up and try to understand where it is, because there's no real cross-training that is going to take place, just because of the small staff we have, and we don't have a redundancy in staff that's able to be projects and assistant projects.
How about past the month, though?
Yeah.
In terms of training, like you've got the interim manager, and so past the month, then it just,
I mean, anyone that you appoint for an interim manager should be able to do the role. I mean, they should be able to manage the projects and carry it out. So there's no real training that would take place. It's just really project management and staff management from that point. It's just, they've done it in different municipalities, so they should be able to carry it over. And I'd mentioned this to a couple of you before. I put in my last day as June 6th. I'm available the next week. If y'all need me for an extra week, I'll be more than glad to offer that. I'll be more than glad to offer any type of contractual opportunities as long as my other employer approves that. So if y'all need help with stuff, I can help carry some projects out if need be.
because you sent out the email showing that the last week, really, in May, you're going to be gone.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of unfinished things, unfortunately, just because of timing. But I will try to do what I can to get us over the finish line between now and then. It's just some of it's just not realistic.
Just one thing I'd like to add, I think it's a very important process that we're going through here today, and, I looked through the list that was originally prepared of some of the things that we need to touch on, but I also think it's extremely important to have a conversation in terms of how we've gotten here, and for that, I'd like to propose that perhaps as early as next week, but if not by then, definitely by the time that we meet next for our work session, that we do have a closed session around personnel. And the reason I know we had a closed session around personnel a few weeks ago, and just some of the issues that we've had with both of our boards and professional staff that have been coming to the front. I think it's important that we kind of address why we're kind of getting into the situations that we are. And as such, I think we need to discuss that and, have some candid conversations, because we're a rather small municipality, and turnover can affect us greatly. And it's definitely something I think there's been really some things that we as a council can look at in terms of how we're handling our boards and professional staff that we really need to take a look at.
Yeah, I agree with that, John. But I have a question for Chaplain. Can that be in closed session, or is that something we need to do in open session?
A lot of that sounds like open. If you get into specific, like staff members that you want to retain, need to review, you can talk about that. Council cannot go into closed session to discuss the performance of individual council members or the council members, I guess, collectively.
Staff
but
members.
Staff members. So it has to be, you can go in for personnel, but if it's about village council, they're not really personnel.
Well,
But if they're legal issues too, we can go in to address those.
Yeah,
which I can certainly do.
I was thinking about specific staff and personnel, some of the issues that we've already dealt with in closed session.
Specific staff can be discussed.
But then also, assuming that they'd be amenable to it, I know in my world, it's often valuable to have exit interviews with employees and so forth. If that's permissible, and that would be something that Christina might be interested in, I think it'd be important to have something like that as well.
So just so we're clear, because I want to make sure this does not involve performance-related issues.
No.
John, do you want to make a motion to have the meeting?
Is that a motion, or do we just, in order to have a closed session, what do we need to request a closed session like that? Is it through a motion, or?
You can just call, two council members can.
Two council members, yeah, and it may be easier to coordinate. Y'all can do that now, or if you want to do it later to coordinate calendars, but two members or the mayor can call the special call meeting.
So I'm the first member, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to call a special meeting and have those kinds of exchanges and that kind of dialogue, absolutely. Look at where we were, where we are, and where we want to go. I think that's a good idea.
So we can, at a staff level, work on a date that works and a time, and then we can, are y'all wanting to do that like this week or next week, or?
I may be remote on that one.
Yeah, next week.
Some travel.
Is next week okay with
Next
everyone?
week is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're saying on the Monday, after the work session?
We could do that too.
Is there a reason why we don't do it before? Or at?
I think we may have something before too, so.
Well, when's the work session?
Not,
Work
9
session.
o'clock.
Would,
Yeah, there may be another.
Yeah, do it after the work session.
After the work session,
Mhm.
okay.
For for the sake of getting this out there and getting it advertised, how soon can we market and post this on COG and some of the other places? What's the process for that, and how can we?
So if y'all want to go through the COG to do this manager recruitment services, I can go ahead and start this process with them. If y'all want to make a motion to allow me to enter a contract with them, I think it's $0 because I don't think they charge for this. But if someone wants to make a motion to allow me to execute any agreements that are needed for the manager recruitment services with COG, I can start on that immediately.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Was that a motion or?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
making a motion for your motion, yes. Yes, to get COG on board.
Mayor, do you want to do a quick roll call, make sure?
All those in favor of the motion to get COG on board with Christina entering into a contract with them to do so?
Aye.
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 Okay, and all those opposed? Okay, it passes.
And then one thing I did want to mention to you guys is, so I currently have about 70, 80 hours of comp time. I can try to burn that before I leave, or you guys can decide to pay me out whatever is left by the time I finish. I'll have a vacation in the end of May, so I'll try to burn some of that, but whatever's left in the middle of that, if you guys want to compensate me my hourly wage for that comp payout, that's probably the best thing to do so I can finish out some of these, but I'm just going to leave that to you guys for discussion and consideration.
Yeah, I have no problem with using it as a comp payout. Just I think it's valuable that we engage Christina's services as much as possible until we get to the point that we have someone else in place.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we all agree, it's unanimous.
Okay, and then I'll leave that extra week on the table if you guys want it. We can talk about that closer to date. It's not a huge deal for me either way, so y'all have that extra week if you need to. But I'll go ahead and start this with COG. I did provide in your agenda packets, not agenda packets, but this handout, the population of our municipality, 5,000 to 9,999, 10,000-ish. And they are the listed salaries there for those municipalities that contributed to this study. Now, it's not all of them, but it's just the ones who contributed to the study. And that ranges anywhere from 110 to 215 a year. So just letting y'all know kind of what you're competing with. I did put in the statute that Chaplain referenced, 160A, 148, which is the powers of the manager, so you can see some of that, which does list the appointments for key staff, hiring and firing of those, so that's there. And then, like I said, the league report for that interim role is there as well. Do y'all want to talk about reaching out to any of these interims and how, like, if the managers in transition, do y'all want to reach out to them individually, or y'all want to have like a little committee that does it? Y'all want me to do it to see who's available, and then we can narrow it down for interim?
Do you think it would be appropriate for you to call them and see if they're interested in what their expectations are as kind of a threshold, a little bit more information, and then we can
Yeah, and then I can get a report. Is that good with everybody?
save us a little time?
I'll try to get that done before the next work session, and hopefully I can give that to you all as,
And then what you mentioned was kind of doing that as the first pass, but then is the question whether there's going to be a committee or whole council. I would think we would want all of council. Is that agreeable?
Oh, yeah.
Ultimately, but do you think it'd be easier for a committee to conduct some of the initial interviews? I'm just thinking, trying to get the whole council together for,
we can see how many we have. Let's see how many we narrow the list down to. If it's just 2, then
No.
no, but if there's 10, then maybe. I don't think you're gonna have that problem.
okay.
I did speak to a couple of people today, and they said that there's a lot of municipalities that are having this problem right now. There's not many interims out there, so. On that next kind of column of that managers in transition report, you'll see the known openings, so those are all the kind of people that have vacancies that are known that you'll be competing with those folks.
This is just North Carolina. What about South Carolina?
We don't usually cross boundaries. Yeah. I can see if I can find out.
Is there any way we can tap into that?
We can. I will say South Carolina and North Carolina is very different. And you probably want someone with North Carolina law. Chaplain can weigh in on that.
Yeah, especially on an interim, maybe on a long term, you see that more often where people are disqualified and they'll come in. But their interim, oftentimes they're working a part schedule. Some of them are part time, and they're just trying to keep just keep everything on track. They're not trying to make changes. They're not trying to implement. They're just trying to keep the ship on course for a few weeks or a couple of months if it gets dragged out, which sometimes it does. And I think that's better when you have somebody coming in with experience on that short term. There's also, as Christina noted, you generally don't have any training for your interim, so you want them to come in and be versed in how to just keep everything on track.
Fair enough.
I will say there is a lot of projects that are currently being worked on. That's the problem with being a working manager is there's not that redundancy in staff to be able to take over things. So I'll hopefully try to get things buttoned up as much as I possibly can so that someone can kind of take it over and run with it. But most of the time, people have either project managers or departments that are kind of managing some of these things through. So we will struggle a little bit there, but we'll try to button it up as much as we can. And there is Public Works interim positions as well. So if we get to that point and that's something that you guys want to look at, I'm not really going to speak to the Public Works Director applicants that we've got thus far, but you might want to look into, we might want to look into some interim stuff too.
If we get a referral from, like, say, someone at WUMA, how do you want that referral to be processed? Do we go to you with that name and say,
For an interim role or for?
it could be an interim role, could be the full-time
So
gig if they want to interview? What would you suggest the process be if we get names randomly?
So if y'all just want to send them to me, I'll just compile the list, and then when we meet again, as long as they're okay with the name being publicly disclosed, if they're not, we probably should just leave it in kind of the application queue, and then you guys can review that once you're ready.
Okay.
So if it's for interim role, we will discuss that in open session. Chaplain, correct?
No, not necessarily. Once it gets to individuals, if you want to, or if they want that privacy for some reason, once you're talking about specific individuals, you can
Okay.
go into closed session.
Well, then you guys
Now,
can send it to me.
A
And
lot of the
I'll,
interims don't mind because they're on a list of interims and they're not trying to, they may not be leaving an employer and not want that employer to know.
so if you guys want to send them to me as you get them, or if you get them, and then I'll just keep them in a folder, and when we come to talking about however it is, I'll just kind of walk the line with what needs to be confidential and what doesn't.
Chaplain, there's no prohibition on an interim becoming permanent, right? I mean, it's not like the federal government where you have somebody who's appointed and they can't, okay, great.
No, if y'all found somebody and you could have found somebody that thought they were ready to retire or is just in between and then it fits and yeah, you would just modify it and go on from there.
Thanks.
Understanding that this is going to be a process we're going to have to work through, and, you know, people are managing careers and professions and things like that, does it make sense that we proactively set forth kind of a cadence of meetings up front so that people might be able to better manage their schedules over the next month or 6 weeks?
Yeah, no, I think we should always stay out in front of when meetings want to be had and people's schedules, their travel schedules, work schedules, vacation, whatever. I think we've always done a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, so just, should we set a cadence for, is this something that we think we're going to have to meet every week on to get updates, or we'll get updates separately? No, okay,
Yeah, I don't think you'll have to meet every week.
okay.
I mean, I think once we establish the recruitment process, we'll establish a close date, and we really don't need to do anything until that close date except for find an interim. Now, we can figure that one out in the middle of between now and June 6th or June 12th or whatever that date is on the next week. But until then, we'll have that closing date, and then we really don't need to meet to talk about the candidates until it closes.
I know that when we have had recent board openings and so forth, that there have been times that we have reached out as individuals to interview, or discuss with someone, or other times where we have, without getting quorum, had a group of people. Chaplain, is there anything that precludes you in this type of arrangement from performing either group interviews as a whole or individual interviews?
No, you just need to make sure if you're going to have a quorum that you get the proper notice out so you can conduct business. And if you don't have a quorum, if you appoint a special group, then that may be a new committee. But I think you need to just, a lot of it is working with each other with expectations, because you don't want it to where you're excluding people that want to be involved by trying to do short notices or something like that. But I think you have flexibility with meeting with these people and how you want to handle it.
So if you do a interview with a group that might constitute more than quorum, does that have to be then in open session in some way, or can it still be just, there's a quorum, there's, that?
Good question. No, the reason this isn't open is the way I perceived this, it was just all about policy of how we're going to implement reviewing and interviewing from a large field. What kind of steps do we want to have? How do we want to do this? There was just nothing to protect. There was nothing private. But under the closed session statute, once you get into specific candidates, you can go into closed session, and you can also go into closed session about terms, contractual terms and amount for the employment agreement. So you can go in, you have a lot more flexibility once you're looking at specifics to go into closed session.
So that does bring me to my next question. Currently, 215. Currently, you have this position in your classification schedule from a salary range of $116,000 per year to $178,000 per year. What do you guys want me to list as the salary range? Do you want me to list the entire range? Do you want me to have a hiring range? How do y'all want to handle that one? If you recall, in your little packets that I put together, the range that's listed for this like size is anywhere from 110 to 215. So we can go with the range of what was budgeted, or we can go in a lower amount, the whole range, however you guys want me to handle it, but I would like some guidance on how y'all want me to advertise that salary range.
Well, I think it should be a range, not specific. And I don't have a problem with what you had on this one sheet of 116 to 178.
Just put the whole entire thing? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is everybody okay with that?
Agree.
116, it's on this one.
I don't know.
The starting salary for
To
this.
not cast like so wide a net, do we want to, we're not going to hire someone who qualifies for the 116, presumably. So maybe we start at like column 2, right, to 178, or just something to get a little more.
116 to 128?
No. I mean like 128 to 178.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, you may get some first-year MPA graduate students that you really like. I'm just throwing that out there.
Everybody's going to be looking at a high number anyway, so.
Yeah, fair.
I'd leave it the way it is.
Yeah, leave it at 116.
116 to
Yeah.
120, or 178?
Agreed.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? So just so you're aware, if you do end up hiring someone on the 178, you're gonna have to do a budget amendment, just so you're aware. That's all the questions I really have for you guys. Are there any questions for me?
Any concerns?
Are we sure we want to go with the max on the high? Because, you know, if someone's really good and, you know, you've posted it at 166, and they say, hey, look, I got to be at least 170 or whatever, then you can make an exception as a council on that offer when it's over maybe what your, published threshold was. But to go just from the low to the high, it seems extreme. We should give ourselves a little bit of, buffer there, I think, on the high end, and not go right to the high. Because once you publish that, someone with experience is going to come in and they're going to expect 178,000. I think you bridge that, or you narrow that down a little bit, and it becomes a negotiation in the end. Because with a range that big, yeah, you may attract some people to look at it and go, wow, 178, but I don't know, I just don't think you need to go, all the way to the pinnacle.
Aren't these already published?
They are, I think, and I have some concerns about advertising a smaller range and then finding one candidate and going above your public, basically RFQ, your public bid amount.
Okay, that's a fair
Yeah, I mean,
statement.
and
In government.
you will have an opportunity to discuss this with them, and you can discuss those terms in closed session. But I think it would be unusual to hit that top number.
I mean, you can always put
But it's just a
nothing.
range.
I mean, there's job opportunities right now that are salary dependent on qualifications, and they don't put anything. So you could always do nothing.
No, I think publishing something's important. People are looking at a number and they see it. But I like Chaplain's comments on that.
So keeping it the way we originally decided?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, it's fine.
Any other questions y'all have for me?
Do we need to look for an interim public works, given the quality of applicants you're getting, given that you've been handling it?
We can look into that, yeah. I've got someone that's submitted a interim role packet to me, and I haven't looked into it yet because I was waiting for the closing. That closes on May 27th, if I remember correctly, so we can discuss an interim role if nothing shakes out. Generally speaking, a lot of people wait until the last minute to apply for some reason. So we may see an influx May 27th or whatever that date is.
What's the risk? Where's their risk if we don't find someone in a reasonable amount of time? From a legal standpoint, duties of the village and things like that.
I think the risk is things falling through. You've got to get a budget approved. You've got contracts. You've got personnel. I mean, the manager keeps things going and things slipping by, missing deadlines, missing things you're supposed to be doing. But the main legal concern is to make sure that we do have somebody in place. We want to make sure that and that can be the interim, and the interim should be able to keep it in track. And you're also going to lose momentum. It's hard to get things done when you don't have a full-time manager.
Yeah, no, I get everything you just said. Let me re-clarify. Is there a statutory risk outright for not having the position filled in a certain amount of time? Is there a deadline with the state? I understand
No,
the deliverables that come with it, but...
The only deadline is to have someone named, and that can be an interim. You have to have somebody, but it can be an interim while you still search, but you have to have somebody in that position.
Mayor, are you referring to an interim or a permanent position?
It could be interim.
Okay, so I think you have to have an interim.
Yes.
You don't have to have the person selected, but you have to have an interim. And really, I mean, all the things that Chaplain mentioned, but it's really for staff too, to make sure staff has someone there for them, to make sure things are being carried out, to make sure that supervision is there for them and to help support them as well. So, You wouldn't want staff without a director. It's just, people would be floundering.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any other questions or comments? Okay, so we'll get it posted on COG, and hopefully we get a couple names, and we can start. Oh, I do have one question. Do we want qualifying questions that are standard? I suggest we have basically a questionnaire that's standard, that when we're conducting interviews and things like that, it's, everything is objective, and different people aren't asking different questions than others unless it's by design.
So do y'all want COG to help with the actual assessment process, or would y'all like to do that? Because we have, like, I can give you interview questions that I've prepared for various positions.
Yeah.
I could even come up with some particularly for the manager role, but Chaplain can help you through that assessment process, or you can do a process with COG, and they can do more exercise-driven, just your standard. Like, a lot of times managers will go through, depending on who's doing it, they'll go through your typical interview, but they also have things where they'll do mock cancel meetings where there'll be a problem and the manager has to get out and, address the resident. They'll also do a component of employee relations where you've got two employees that might be arguing about something, or there might be a personnel problem, and that manager will help go through that process. They also do these in-basket modules where you get a feel for a manager's ability to prioritize projects and what's a higher priority and how they address everything coming to you at once. So there's all kinds of different ways you can go through that process. So if y'all want to just do a typical interview, Chaplain can help you through that. But if you want to do any of those things that I mentioned, you probably need to have someone to hold your hand.
So currently with our boards, we have kind of a pre-interview questionnaire that is simple and consistent, but we can make it specific with the help of COG or someone to, the specific types of questions that we'd kind of want to know on
Yeah,
the
you can do that,
intake.
yeah.
So I think if we kind of followed a process like that, where initially, I think then once you get to the point where you're having individual interviews with people, I think at that point, you want to leave it a little bit more open to the potential of, sorry about that. You want to leave it more open to, you want to be able to ask questions based upon their responses to drill down on certain answers and things like that. So I think kind of having both of those would probably be the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I was thinking initially a formal process where you qualify, which COG could basically do, narrow down the field, bring the field to us, and then we could probably use several questions, if not all, that you would use.
Yeah.
And then as we further dial down through the process, there will be questions in the middle of the interview that are follow-up questions. I just want to make sure it's formal and it's consistent.
So I'm hearing y'all do want COG to help with the recruitment. Okay, so we'll have to do a
Yes.
contract with them, just be prepared for a couple $1,000s on that.
Okay?
I don't know exactly, I didn't ask her. I can tell you when we did it for Public Works, it was somewhere in the 3 to 5 range, and they generally do more for managers, but I'll get a quote on that.
Okay. When you get that number and you need feedback from us, something you want us to vote on, or?
Yeah, you'll have to
Okay.
vote on it, and
Okay.
I'll try to get it before the next meeting, and
Okay.
I'll put it on the agenda.
Okay. All right, if no one has any more questions or comments, or Tom, you got something?
Are we going to, I do have some comments, just more generally. First of all, I want to thank Christina for her service. I think she's done a phenomenal job through a very difficult time. I see this as a regrettable loss, and I wish the best for you. I think I've seen very few public servants with the kind of dedication that you've had. So your responsiveness has been off the charts, as I've told you. So thank you for that, and best of luck.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I'll just say thank you for your service. You've been here a long time. Whatever direction you go in, we wish you the absolute best. And we appreciate the assistance that you're willing to offer us for the next several weeks.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Okay.
Well, yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Fred.
I'll talk to you, but I do want to say thank you for your service. I think they're very big shoes to fill. I hope we can get someone as qualified and as competent as you. I've told you a number of times that I think you're a tremendous executive, and I hope you're on to bigger and better things.
Thank you. I
And I'd like
appreciate
to add to that, I think, I've been on several committees for Marvin, and I was pre-Christina, and there was a period of time pre-Christina, and then there was post-Christina. And pre-Christina, there was very, very little going on in Marvin, North Carolina, in terms of creativity, leadership, in a lot of different areas. And I know Kim Vandenberg's sitting out there, and she can, I think, echo that. She brought a lot of great ideas to the table. She's been a phenomenal servant for Marvin. You've done a phenomenal job, and we're going to miss you. And wish you the very best.
Thank you.
And you and I have spoken, you know, it'll be big shoes to fill, so wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You know, I'm sad. I will definitely miss you.
Thank you, Angel.
I'll save mine till a more appropriate time.
Thank you.
So if there's no other questions or comments, someone can make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those for?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Adjourn.